Hi guys, this is Meenu. Welcome back to my channel Storytale. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my most anticipated books of 2021, which is Chain of Iron by Cassandra Clare. I have waited for it for like a year. I loved Chain of Gold. It was such a good book. It was my favorite book of 2020. I gave it the top list. But to my utter disappointment, this does not hold a candle to it. And it seems like I'm the only one who has this kind of opinion, because there's so many booktubers who have raved about this book. Even though this is not as good as Chain of Gold, it has so many things which is not worthwhile. It was a long book and it felt like a long book because there were so many POVs that were not required, but they were there. And to be honest, I did not enjoy this book as much as I did Chain of Gold. I'm not saying that this is a total failure or something, no, but I have mixed feeling about this book. This is good, but this is not one of the best from Cassandra Clare. My main issue with this book was the villain. We got the same villain that we had in the first book. Belial, I think his name is. And it just felt repetitive to me. I mean, I liked the whole POV of the killer, how he was killing and how he was murdering people. So I liked that. I didn't even believe for even a second that that is James. That was never in my mind for even a second, because of course they're not gonna make their protagonist do that thing. So of course I didn't have that doubt, but I wanted it to be somebody else, not Belial or Jesse or whatever that thing was. I didn't like that part. I think it was very repetitive. It needed to have a better villain, to be honest. I liked a little bit part of Lilith and what she did with Cordelia. That was okay, but other than that, the villain in this, the villain in the series are not that good, and Grace is much better villain. Like I said when I was reviewing the Chain of Gold, she is much better villain. So we need that kind of villain. Even Tatiana is not that good. Belial is not good. Lilith is okay, but not that good. We have seen her in Shadowhunter series, so that is again a repetitive thing. So again, it needs better villain. Second thing that I did not agree with this book is the relationship between James and Cadilla. I like them together. They are really good, even though I prefer Matthew with Cadilla, but still I like them together. And sometimes it feels like they just don't talk to each other. I mean, they are supposed to be friends and everything, and still they do not talk at all. They do not talk about their feelings. They do not talk about anything. It's always this angst that they have, and they just, they do not communicate at all in this book. I mean, it feels like first book all over again. In the first book, it was the same, that Cadilla loved him and James was pining over her, but he cannot do anything because he was under Grace's compulsion. And it was same in this book too. The best part was that the bracelet that Grace gave to James in order to control him falls off or breaks off when he kisses Cordelia. I mean, his love is so strong that it cuts even deeper than blade. That is the theme of this book. So that is the part that was, I think, very thoughtful. So I like that part. Again, I'm not saying that there are only bad parts in this book. There's so many good parts too. So I'm gonna get to that now. I love the relationship between Thomas and Alistair. When we found out that Alistair was following Thomas when he was following the murderer, I think that was again the best part. I love that scene and I love their kiss and I love their relationship. But again, in the end, it didn't work out. But that is okay. I like this scene. I liked scene with Thomas and Alistair. Even though I was kind of hoping that Alistair ends up with Matthew. But still, again, I like Matthew, so I like him with everybody, I think. But anyway, I really loved their relationship. It was very good. And the fresh thing that I liked about this book was this hint of relationship between Christopher and Grace. To be honest, I liked Grace in this book. I liked some of her POVs, not all. I think there were just too many POVs. It didn't need to be there. I mean, all the parts that we learn in the POVs, we have kind of already figured in the first book. We are, I think, at least that much smart, right? So it didn't need to be that many POVs, but still I kind of started liking Grace a little bit, not that much, but still a little bit. So I do want to see a happy ending for her, and I think Christopher can give her. I really liked that little scene between Grace and Christopher. I think that was very beautiful. So now I'm actually rooting for Christopher and Grace. There's also a very beautiful scene in the wedding of Cordelia and James, when Jim actually plays violin and he plays it from afar because he cannot be a part of wedding because he's a silent brother. I think that was a very beautiful and iconic scene. I really like that part. I also love the scenes between Ariadne and Anna. I really like the complications that they have in their relationship. Yes, Anna was very cruel to Ariadne, but still those scenes were very beautifully written, and again, I really like those scenes. I really like these kind of story where, you know, one tries very hard to actually hide their feelings and everything. So that is something that I actually enjoyed. There were also very beautiful scenes between Jessie and Lucy. I really like them together. They are a really cute couple. They have this dance and this kiss, which is actually very nice. But for me, in this book, Lucy kind of became a little bit annoying. Even though I have loved her in the first book, in this book she was like a little bit annoying. She was trying to find this spell or something in order to revive Jessie, and I agree with that part. That is okay. But in this book, she got actually a little bit annoying. She was like hiding this truth from everybody, and then she was just, you know, pursue of that thing. So she did not actually do anything in this book other than that. So that was the part that bumped me out a little bit. But other than that, she was an okay character in this book. James and Cadilla relationship in this book didn't actually change much, to be honest. It was the same as it was in the first book, just only for the fact that James have realized that he loves Cordelia now and he is out of the spell of grace. So that was the only difference that we have in this book. But there was this scene which I absolutely loved. It was when James kissed Grace. So after that he was feeling guilty and he confesses to Cordelia, and then he was like tied up to the bed and then she kisses him, and then that whole scene, it was very passionate and was very sexy. That was again one of those scenes that you actually love, and I wanted more of that. In this book they were like married for like throughout the book, and we needed more of those scenes. It was just not there. But anyway, I still like Cordelia and James as characters. James is like this perfect husband material, to be honest, and he's such a gentleman. He's very polite and he's like the best guy in this book. I mean, except for Matthew. Okay, fine, Matthew is not the best guy, but still. But the only problem that I have with James is that he does not see Matthew as a person. I mean, he is his parabatai, but the bond is not quite there. He never talks about his drinking problem. He never asks about the thing that is actually bothering Matthew. So he does not, care about Matthew that much as he's supposed to as a parabatai, which is actually kind of annoying because I wanted him or other people to actually care about Matthew. Cordelia cares a little bit, but not as much as I wanted her to be honest. I did like the scene when Matthew confesses her what wrong he did in the past and what is bothering him. But isn't Matthew supposed to tell that to his parabatai first? I mean, that bond is stronger than anything else, right? So why didn't he tell him first, then Cordelia? I know that he loves Cordelia, but still I thought that he would tell James first. So I guess their bond is not as good as they're supposed to be. Cordelia, on the other hand, is as badass as Remember, but sometimes she makes very stupid decisions, like she runs out of conversation in like 10 seconds. She needs to be there at least 1 minute more to actually hear what is happening, to be honest. And she doubts herself way too much, and she's like never takes control of the situation. She never tells James that she actually likes him. So that is kind of bothering to me. She's such a strong personality, she's such a caring person, but then when it comes to James, she like becomes this person who just does not talk about her feelings or does not say anything, to be honest. But I did actually like the fact that she actually ran away. That scene was again most iconic. I really love that scene. She just went to Matthew and then she just ran away to Paris. I think that was like one of the most, I do not know, like movie kind of scene, and I just like that scene. That was like very iconic. I really like that. Now let me talk about what I've been meaning to talk about for a long time, that is Matthew. Why does not Cassandra love Matthew? I do not understand. Why is she doing this to him? I do not know. Like in the first book, he was pining over Cadilla. He was like in love with her, but he could not tell her. And in the second book, it's the same thing. But by the end, he does confesses his love to her. But of course, she does not love him, so she does not reciprocate. But then he asks for a little bit time. So that was the part that I like. But still, Matthew deserves much, much better. Why could not he have been in love with somebody else? I do not want the same thing that happened in the Infernal Device series to happen in this series too. I have not read Infernal Devices series, but I do know how it ends. So I do not want the same thing. I mean, the Parabatai brothers loving the same girl, and of course, James is gonna be the end game. So what is the point of Matthew in falling in love with Cadilla? I do not know why Cassandra is doing that to us. I mean, Matthew deserves somebody really, really good, and Cadilla is in love with James. So why cannot just give him someone better? I can guess how third book is gonna be. Again, James will be pining over Cadilla in this book, and then again they are not be able to tell their feeling until the last few chapters of the book. And Matthew and Cordelia are gonna be better friends, but still Cordelia is not gonna fall in love with Matthew. So then again, what is the point of Paris? There were not many action scenes in this book. There were one or two, and I didn't even like that one. Again, for me, villain was not that intimidating. I didn't like him. It was again repetitive. If Jesse himself would have been the bad guy without this compulsion of Belial, I would have loved that. I mean, that would have been a twist, and that would have been like a very, risky move, and I would have loved that. But again, Belial as the villain, then in the third book, I do not want him again. So just give me a better villain. Even Tatiana is getting very boring for me, even though she gave this very creepy kind of scene where she asks Grace to actually seduce Jesse. I mean, Jesse is her brother. I mean, that was like very creepy. So I just do not like Tatiana as a villain. I do not like any of the villains in this book. So this book ended on too many cliffhangers. We are left with so many loose ends. So Anna and Ariadne have broken up. Thomas and Alistair have broken up. We get a hint of Grace and Christopher as a couple, which is a good thing because James is now finally free of Grace. Lucy have finally revived Jesse, but now she is missing along with him. Cordelia has run away with Matthew to Paris. Cordelia has given up her katana because now she is a paladin of Lilith, which she was not aware of. But now she cannot pick up that blade without actually doing Lilith's bidding. So again, there were so many loose ends and so many things that we were left on. And I think the third book is the last book in the trilogy, which now I am not that excited about, because if Matthew is gonna be like alone in that book, I'm not actually willing to read that. Like I said, I have mixed feelings about this book. There were so many scenes that I actually liked, but there was so much part that I didn't like. This book felt like a drag to me. It could have done away with a few less pages, to be honest. There are certain POVs that we did not require. There were certain chapters that was not necessary. Chain of Gold was my favorite book of 2020, but I don't think this book is gonna be my favorite book of 2021. Even though I was waiting for it so much, it was my most anticipated book of this year. But anyway, I'm still looking forward to the third installment. I really wish it does not disappoint me as much as this book did. Again, I have very mixed feelings for this, so I'm gonna give this book 3.5 stars. Do let me know in the comments down below what you think of this book, and of course do not forget to like and subscribe and click that bell icon if you want to get notified of my videos. Until then, see you.